Welcome, listeners. Today, we're diving into 20 George Soros billionaire lessons, exploring the journey and strategies behind his success. We'll unravel themes of resilience, philanthropy, and ethical investing, all while wandering through global financial hubs with George and his protege Emma. Along the way, expect complex vocabulary and notable grammar choices to be explained briefly right as they appear, ensuring you stay engaged without getting lost. Join us for a calm yet insightful exploration of ambition and ethics in the world of finance. George strolled through the bustling streets of Budapest, the cacophony, meaning a harsh mix of sounds, of the marketplace enveloping him like an erratic symphony. Vendors shouted their prices, their voices merging into a singular, vibrant pulse that seemed to echo the resilience of a city reborn. The market was a microcosm of life, where chaos and order danced in tandem. As he walked, George couldn't help but reminisce about the post-war challenges that had shaped him. The tenacity, meaning persistence, needed to thrive amidst the ruins was etched into the lines on his face, a testament to battles fought both external and internal. The world had changed, and so had he. Confronted by scarcity and the prospect of rebuilding, he had learned to navigate uncertainty with an unyielding spirit. The aroma of fresh bread wafted through the air, a delightful contrast to the distant clamor of construction sites. Here the old and new coexisted, each layer of sound and scent telling a story of renewal and hope. Inside a quiet boardroom, George found himself contemplating the ethical, meaning morally right, dilemmas of financial ambition. The room was a stark contrast to the bustling streets outside, its silence enveloping him like a shroud. Dimly lit, it exuded a sense of solemnity, with shadows casting long, enigmatic figures on the walls. Emma, sitting across from him, broke the silence with her inquisitive gaze. "George, I've always admired your success, but I need to understand. What drives you? What lies at the heart of your relentless pursuit?" Her earnestness was disarming. George paused, choosing his words with care. "Emma," he began, his voice measured and thoughtful, "it starts with the axiom, meaning a universally accepted truth, that wealth should serve more than personal gain." He glanced at the shadows, momentarily lost in thought. Rarely has he felt so conflicted. He admitted, using inversion to emphasize his doubts about wealth, inversion for emphasis, auxiliary plus subject plus past participle. The tension between his capitalist success and socialist ideals had long been a source of internal struggle. Emma leaned forward, her curiosity piqued. "But how do you balance those ideals with the demands of the financial world?" George sighed, recalling his own journey. "I had been questioning for years," he reflected. Past perfect continuous for background, past perfect continuous tense. How to align my ambitions with my values. It's an ongoing dialogue within myself, between the allure of profit and the imperative of purpose. The room seemed to hold its breath, shadows deepening as if in agreement. Emma nodded, her expression a mix of understanding and admiration. Her own struggles mirrored his, albeit in different ways. She, too, wrestled with the ghosts of past failures, seeking a path that would honor both her aspirations and her ethics. As George looked at her, he saw not just a protege, but a reflection of his younger self. The world was as complex as ever, filled with opportunities and pitfalls alike. And yet, there was a peculiar beauty in that complexity, a chance to make choices that mattered. Outside, the marketplace continued its lively dance, oblivious to the quiet deliberations within the boardroom. The aroma of bread, the hum of voices, and the distant clang of construction wove a tapestry of life that was vibrant and ongoing. The city, like George, was constantly evolving, ever on the cusp of transformation. And as he pondered his next steps, he felt a familiar surge of hope, a belief that amidst the noise and the shadows, there lay the potential for something remarkable. With a faint smile, he turned to Emma. "Let's make sure that what we build is not just profitable but meaningful," he said, the conviction in his voice as strong as the resolve that had carried him through the years. Emma's eyes gleamed with the promise of discovery. "Yes, let's," she agreed, her voice filled with the same determination. And so, with the world bustling just beyond their walls, they prepared to embark on a journey that would test their values, challenge their beliefs, and ultimately, perhaps, reshape the way they saw wealth and worth. The sleek, modern office perched high above the bustling financial district was a cocoon of calm amidst the chaos. Large windows framed the city below, where the asterisk cacophony, meaning harsh mixture of sounds of honking cars and distant sirens, melded into a constant background noise. George Soros stood by the window, his gaze scanning the sprawling cityscape, while Emma Fields sat across from him, her eyes fixed on a stack of papers. They were poring over the latest data, trying to make sense of a sudden market shift that had caught even the most seasoned analysts off guard. The volatility, meaning unpredictability of the trends, was apparent in every graph and chart they examined. Papers rustled as they sifted through the information, the numbers dancing like inscrutable hieroglyphs. Emma's brow furrowed as she processed the data. "I'm not sure about this, George," she said, her voice carrying a hint of anxiety. "The risks seem considerable." She hesitated, then added, "I still remember the time I miscalculated an investment. It wasn't just about the loss. It was the ripple effect." George turned from the window, his expression thoughtful. "Never before had I witnessed such unpredictability," he mused. Inversion for emphasis, auxiliary plus subject plus past participle. His tone was measured, thoughtful. "But remember, Emma, adaptability is our greatest ally. Every setback holds within it the seed of a fortuitous, meaning happening by chance, often beneficial, opportunity." The rhythmic ticking of the clock on the wall seemed to underscore the gravity of their decision-making process. Each tick echoed in the room, a gentle reminder of time's relentless march forward. Emma nodded, absorbing his words. "If it were necessary to take a more cautious approach, I'd prefer it," she said, allowing a hypothetical scenario to shape her thoughts. Subjunctive mood for hypothetical scenarios. George leaned forward, his eyes sharp with focus. "Let's consider how our decision aligns with our principles," he suggested. "We can't only look at profit. The impact of our choices needs careful deliberation." They engaged in a strategic dialogue, weighing each option with care. George's wisdom, tempered by years of experience, balanced Emma's earnest but cautious approach. Together, they crafted a plan that harmonized profitability with their ethical commitments. As they reached a decision, a subtle optimism began to permeate the room. It was a small victory, one that promised not just financial gain, but also a step toward making a positive difference. Outside, the city continued its ceaseless rhythm, but inside the office, a quiet determination had taken root. The stage was set for their next move, a move that would test their resolve and ingenuity. And in Emma's eyes, there was a spark of newfound confidence, hinting at the growth yet to come. George Soros weaved through the labyrinthine streets of the bustling financial hub. The cacophony, meaning dissonance, of car horns and hurried footsteps enveloped him, underscoring the relentless pressure of public scrutiny. His recent controversial investment decision had stirred the pot, drawing both admiration and ire from every quarter. As he moved with a purpose-driven gait, he could feel the weight of 1,000 eyes dissecting his every move. Soon, he reached the sanctuary of a quiet boardroom, a stark contrast to the chaos outside. Emma Fields, his protégée, was already there, her presence both calming and charged with an earnest energy. She glanced up, her expression a mix of determination and trepidation. They settled into their seats, the silence between them thick with unspoken challenges. "George," Emma began, her voice carrying an edge of hesitancy, "Have you considered the societal impact of our latest venture?" Her words hung in the air, a direct challenge that was both daring and necessary. George met her gaze, his expression measured yet reflective. "Every decision we make ripples outwards, Emma, but in this case the potential for good outweighs the immediate backlash." He paused, searching for the right words. "If only we were more certain of the outcomes, subjunctive mood for hypothetical, were for wish, we might act differently." Emma nodded, yet her eyes betrayed a lingering doubt. "I just worry about the implications, not just for us, but for everyone involved." Her voice was earnest, embodying the tension between their financial goals and ethical responsibilities. George leaned back, a contemplative look crossing his face. The boardroom, with its polished surfaces and strategic maps, served as a backdrop to his internal conflict. Here, he was a man torn between worlds, a capitalist by trade, yet his heart harbored socialist ideals. This contradiction was the crucible of his life, fueling his musings with both passion and sardonic wit. "Seldom has a decision felt so gray," he murmured, almost to himself. "Inversion for emphasis, auxiliary plus subject plus past participle. We must navigate these waters carefully, balancing ambition with accountability." A salubrious breeze, meaning health-giving, whispered in through an open window, rustling papers and offering a brief respite from their quandary, was a momentary balm, a reminder that clarity could still be found amidst the uncertainty. Then, almost as if the universe itself sought to intervene, a new opportunity presented itself. A philanthropic venture, promising to align financial success with global betterment, surfaced in their conversation. Its potential was vast, and the hope it infused into the room was palpable. Emma's eyes lit up at the prospect. "This could be it, George, a chance to make a tangible difference." He nodded, feeling a cautious optimism. "It's a path worth exploring," he agreed. "Perhaps this is the alignment we've been seeking." As the conversation turned, George's introspection deepened. He sat in silence for a moment, weighing his ambitions against his ethical beliefs. It was an internal dialogue that oscillated between inspiration and reflection, a mental exercise that had become all too familiar. He considered the possibility of reconciling these two opposing forces within him. Could one truly harness the mechanisms of capitalism for the greater good? The question lingered, unanswerable yet persistent. Emma watched him, her own thoughts mirroring his. They both understood the stakes. Personal integrity and global influence were intertwined in their decisions. This burgeoning opportunity, however, brought a glimmer of hope, a chance to redefine not only their trajectory, but also the impact they wished to imprint on the world. As the day wore on, George stood and moved toward the window, gazing out at the city that lay sprawled beneath the evening sky. The horizon was painted with the soft hues of twilight, a reminder that even in moments of uncertainty, there was always a new dawn. With a quiet resolve, he turned back to Emma. "Let's pursue this," he said, his voice carrying both determination and a renewed sense of purpose. "It's time to see if we can truly make a difference." The subtle hook lay in his words, a promise of future endeavors that would challenge not just his strategies, but also the very ideals that had shaped his journey thus far. George sat alone in the quiet boardroom, the ambient hum of distant city traffic providing a soothing backdrop to his thoughts. He envisioned a future where financial success intertwined seamlessly with ethical responsibility, a balance he'd been striving to maintain. The late afternoon light filtered through the large windows, casting soft shadows on the polished table, as if echoing the duality of his ambitions. Across from him, Emma fiddled with her pen, the slight tremor in her fingers barely noticeable. Her nerves, however, were unmistakable. She was poised to propose an innovative project, one that she hoped would resonate with both their values and aspirations. Her eagerness was palpable, tempered by a hint of anxiety. She knew the stakes of gaining George's endorsement. As Emma began to speak, the light in the room seemed to shift, mirroring the cadence of her voice. Her idea was ambitious, a venture integrating corporate investments with philanthropic goals, creating a synthesis that could redefine their approach to business. Her words carried a mix of eagerness and hesitance, a testament to both her passion and the gravity of her proposal. George listened intently, absorbing the details. The feasibility, meaning practicality, of such an integration was his primary concern. Yet, as Emma continued, he found himself increasingly intrigued. Her concept promised not just profit but purpose, a rare combination in their world. He pondered the potential impact, his thoughts turning over the possibilities like a jeweler examining a precious gem. Their discussion unfolded with a measured and thoughtful rhythm. They debated strategies, weighing risks against rewards, yet always circling back to their shared goal of ethical investing. George appreciated Emma's earnestness and was impressed by her ability to navigate the complexities of merging altruism with business acumen. After their conversation, they exited the boardroom, stepping into a bustling corridor that brimmed with energy and anticipation. They were to meet with a group of like-minded investors, individuals who shared their vision of merging profit with purpose. The atmosphere was charged with optimism, an almost tangible affirmation of their mission. Rarely had they seen such synergy, a collective resolve to make meaningful change, inversion for emphasis, auxiliary plus subject plus past participle. The meeting proceeded with a dynamism that was invigorating. Ideas flowed freely, each suggestion building upon the last. There was a shared understanding that they were on the cusp of something transformative. The group agreed to embark on this bold venture, setting a precedent, meaning model, for others in the industry to follow. As they sealed the agreement with a mutual nod of respect, George felt a surge of hope. This endeavor was not merely a financial opportunity, but a chance to redefine what success meant in their field. He glanced at Emma, her expression one of quiet determination, a signal that they were ready to lead by example. The meeting concluded, leaving behind a room filled with the echoes of inspired conversation. George and Emma walked back into the city, their pace purposeful. Their minds were already working, sketching the outlines of their next steps. As they departed, the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. It was a subtle reminder of the endless cycle of challenges and opportunities. George knew, as did Emma, that their journey was only just beginning, and with it came the promise of not just financial gain, but genuine impact. Their path was set, yet the road ahead promised to test the limits of their resolve and ingenuity. As the city lights flickered to life, George felt a pang of excitement. The world was changing, and they were about to play a pivotal role in its transformation. Thanks for tuning in to the English Frequency Podcast. We're glad to be part of your English learning journey, from beginner to advanced. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, share, and leave a review. Keep practicing, stay motivated, and see you in the next episode.